Yeah, we continue our comprehensive post-mortem of the ISSA Grace Kennedy Boys and Girls Athletics Championship, which ended on Saturday evening with Kingston College winning their 36th boys title and Hydel securing their second girls crown at the National Stadium in Kingston, Jamaica. However, the five-day meet was marred by a string of controversies, including contentious false start disqualifications, both in real time and retroactively, plus a breach of the transfer quota rules by Kingston College and a subsequent sanction which has left many onlookers bemused. Now, chief among the issues was the retroactive false start disqualification of Calabar Class 1 sprinter Jamal Stevenson. He completed his semi-final in a personal best 10.38 seconds to earn himself a spot in the final before being removed from the starting lineup less than an hour before the race. Now, Calabar launched an appeal ahead of the final. The final and the medal ceremony were held on Wednesday night while the appeal was still being heard. Stevenson was eventually reinstated on Friday, but without a chance to compete as he was given 1 point. This is the rule the competition's director, meet manager, Mr. Anthony Davis, cited in giving the decision, and that's World Athletics Rule 8.9, which states the medal ceremony marks the conclusion of the event and any disputes or protests must be resolved prior to this point, as the medal ceremony signifies the official end of the event and no subsequent changes or appeals are permitted after this ceremony. Needless to say, of course, the Calabar fraternity was not happy with Stevenson holding a sign saying apology not accepted following the Class 1 boys sprint relay final, while head coach Corey Bennett blasted organizers in an interview earlier on Monday.
I feel disappointed. I mean, not many persons knew that we realistically gave ourselves a chance. But whenever you decide a championship in the computer room, then you really don't stand a chance. Whether we like it or not. I mean, this is a boys' club that is controlling the meet. And once we get this out of the championship, then let's have a fair game. You know, and I think there are too many things that were eased up. Quota boys allowed to be decided by the school. I mean, there's just too much. You know, and I think it became an ugly championship. You know, I just believe the starting crew is the worst I've seen. And I think they've caused a lot of doubt and trust in what they're doing. I mean, when a young man like Jamal Stevens, my heart goes out to Jamal. And I want to go on here and apologize for my behavior, to be honest. You know, I was yellow carded. I'm probably rightfully so. But I am going to defend my boys. And I thought that Jamal, who was competing in his first ever individual event, was robbed. And when ISSA or the person who running the meet admitted to me that it was their fault, and I asked them to hold the race until the decision was made, they ran ahead and hurried the race. And that was disrespectful to the trainer that the boy put in, and you're going to tell me that he's reinstated. I'm going to give you 1 point. That is disrespect, you know. But I'm hoping that going forward, they will think about seriously getting an international crew to run this thing. I mean, it can't be run by these local persons. These local persons are too biased.
Who did you ask to hold the race?
I went upstairs, I went to the appeal room. I went to make the appeal with Ms. Cara Long and other officials that I thought, they kept sending me to different persons. And I said, just hold the race. Let's look at the appeal. And the question was, is it appeal or protest? I mean, who cares about what words are being used? And they just tried to delay the whole system. And it's unfortunate that they never took 5 minutes just to look at it properly and reinstate the young man in the race and give him his fair chance of doing his best. I mean, you literally just stole his joy by your own personal reasons and beliefs.
Yeah, passionate Corey Bennett there speaking earlier today now to address these and other issues. We are pleased to be joined on set by meet manager, Mr. Anthony Davis. Mr. Davis, thank you so much for joining us. I mean, so much has happened over the last 5 to 7 days, and I know you must be extremely tired, so we're happy that you could join us. Coach Bennett said a lot in that piece just now. I want to start with where he suggests it's a boys' club running the meet. it became an ugly championship. Let's deal with the boys club aspect, because so many individuals believe that a number of the decisions that were made in favor of a push for Kingston College to win the championship. And let's call a spade, because that's what people are saying.
Well, good evening, everyone, and thanks for having me. I listened to Corey, and I will go along with your suggested points. In terms of champs being run by a boys club, I am clueless. In fact, I've never heard of champs being run by a boys club. Champs is run by ISSA. We have an organizing committee made up of people from several schools. Our officials are from several schools. In fact, we have it's almost impossible to find an official in Jamaica who did not attend a high school. So the question that, it's an old boys club, I'd put that one side. That's not the case. He alluded to some issues. Yes, we had issues. We must accept it. Everybody was able to see it, and I can understand that. The other thing that he mentioned, which I need to set the record straight, is that there was a hurry to run the race and do the medal presentation. There was no such thing. The race went off as scheduled. The medal presentation went off close to schedule. I can certainly admit is that there was a breakdown in moving the things from point A to point B. But the retroactive disqualification is permitted under World Athletics rule. If at the end of the event, the reaction time suggests that this person would have false started in that it is faster than 0.100, then the referee has the authority to disqualify you, even though the race has ended. So we need to have that on the table. So the referee acted within his area of responsibility, and that was sent off. Now, when it got to the coordinator, that's when somebody picked up and said, this athlete, not a Calabar athlete, this athlete in this lane should have been disqualified because the reaction time is too fast.
Yeah.
So in trying to explain, and by the way, I had a lengthy discussion with Corey, right? So
this is last week?
During the championships,
Okay.
we met.
Yes.
We had a lengthy discussion.
That was on Thursday?
Yes, right. And so I explained everything, and I also met with the Calabar management to explain that the fault really rests in when the protest was submitted. I was unaware that a protest was being looked at. The jury was looking at it. Without that knowledge, there would be no basis for me to hold a race, because I would be the only one who can say stop the race until the protest is heard, until the appeal is heard. That was never communicated, and we confirmed that in the timeline. And as a result of that, we went ahead. We had the race. As I said, we are working to schedule. So the race went off. Then we waited for half an hour, which you must do to ensure that if there's anything being investigated. But as I said, it was never brought to my attention that there is a protest in the system, or as the race could have been held. Now, as you stated in my letter to Calabar and to Corey, once the event medals have been presented, there is nothing that can be done. But what we did was we contacted World Athletics, NACAC, and our J3A president was part of the group, explained the situation to World Athletics and asked for their advice. And it is based on the advice that we got from them that we communicate to the school that the athlete will be allowed to keep his results, so it will stand as part of the meet record, because normally if you are disqualified, your time would go. So that time stands, and because it's at championships where points are awarded, if everything was equal, he would have made the final. assuming
But
that...
he did make the final.
Yeah, no. But he would have been in the final.
Yeah, he would have been able to compete.
Right.
Because he did make it.
Good.
Yeah.
So the question is, give him the minimum point, again from World Athletics, to say worst could happen is that if he came 8th, he would have gotten 1 point. Because we can't approximate where in the race he could have. We can't use this time in the semifinals to say this would have placed him 3rd or 4th and therefore give him, because he didn't compete.
Yeah.
So that was the compromise that was put on the table and sent to Calabar.
Yeah. Importantly, so you said as the meet manager, you were not made aware
Yes.
that there was a protest.
Yeah.
So if I'm to understand clearly, and maybe in your response you will explain the chain of communication that should have happened to make you aware that there was a protest. So because you're saying before the event went off, you weren't aware that there was a protest.
Right.
Then there was a period between the event and the medal ceremony, and you were still unaware there was a protest.
Yes.
One, when did you become aware? And two, how could there have been such a significant breakdown in the transfer of the information that the man who is in charge of executing the meet was not made aware that something so significant was taking place?
I think the thing to do is to explain the procedure. The coach would have lodged a protest, whether verbally or in writing, and that would have gone to the referee. The referee would then log it, pass it on to the competition secretary, who would then pass it on to the jury. At that point, the normal system is that to share that information with the competition director. That was just one incident that wasn't passed on, right? So
were there other instances where you were unaware of protests?
But the thing is that they were resolved. There were other instances that you found out after the fact, because everybody's rushing. We're trying to get a number of things done, and so we have to look at the volume and being able to move things around. So we accept that that's a weak point, because we actually had a meeting, we discussed it to try and find out how this could have gone wrong.
Can you understand that given everything that happened, that may be difficult for the Calabar fraternity to believe? Just given the nature of champs, what is at stake? And I know you said earlier that, hey, it's not a old boys club, but think about it. There are several Kingston College past students in very influential positions, and I don't want to start calling names now. And I am not suggesting, by the way, let me be absolutely clear, I am not suggesting that there was anything nefarious about the entire situation, but can you understand that given everything that happened, the Calabar fraternity may feel that way?
Not only can I understand, we feel embarrassed, right? That something could fall through the crack along the way, because we have done all that we think is possible to ensure systems are in place. For example, some years ago we had an issue with the results, and we put a register in place. So the chief referee or the referee coordinator will log all the protests coming in and assign them to different referees. So it's a dynamic situation. So each time something happens, we try and put something in place to ensure it doesn't happen again. But we are not always reactive. Sometimes we can foresee what could very well happen and we take steps. So I fully understand, right? Because they kept saying to me, what can you do? Something, you can do something. And they're saying, well, yes, the event is closed, but you can do something. So I do understand the feeling, but what I can assure the public that it was a genuine error, and we admit to making a mistake.
Yeah. One quick one. So Calabar sent out a letter at the weekend.
Yes.
As part of that letter, they had, 5 requests. One of those, a copy of the report that was sent to World Athletics in relation to this incident, and another one, a copy of the complete response. And there you have it there, a copy of the complete response from World Athletics in relation to the report received from you, the competitions director, manager. Will those documents be made available to Calabar? Will they be sent to Calabar? Have they been sent to Calabar?
There is no document because it was a telephone conversation between representatives from ISSA, representative from NACAC, NACAC president who was here, and our J3 president. It's a telephone conversation that we had, and we said that to Calabar. So I'm not sure why is it that they're asking us for documentation.
Is it that they don't believe you?
I can't tell you what they believe. I'm telling you the discussion that we had, because in that letter, they asked for an apology. We already issued an apology. An apology was read over the public address system, and in my letter to them, I indicated that I'm apologizing to Stevenson and the school. And they were still saying, you know, we need an apology. That was already done.
Question, can you retroactively, and I don't mean to make light of this situation, but can you retroactively get something in writing from World Athletics so that Calabar can be satisfied that what you are saying is the truth and the absolute truth?
I'm reasonably certain that such a request we could put in and see what happens.
The fall starts.
Say that, repeat. When you say the fall starts.
So on Wednesday, I noted that there was an article in the Jamaica Observer where you were quoted as saying that there was no issue with the electronic timing system.
Okay.
Given everything that happened subsequent to that, races where you had reaction times for some athletes and not for others, races where you had no reaction times at all, races where you had a reaction time saying minus 2.1, which is essentially saying that the athlete false started 2 minutes and 19 seconds before the start of the race. There was one I saw which was like minus 12. Let me not even try and explain what that means. Do you still hold to that position that nothing was wrong with the electronic starting system?
We have to look at the sequence of when things happen. And so that Observer article could have come out at the time when they spoke to me.
Yes, which was Tuesday. They spoke to you on Tuesday. Article came out on Wednesday morning.
Okay, but at the time when they spoke to me, we recognized that something could have been off. And we had a meeting with the starters, and they assured us, okay, the meeting was really, like I said to them, people, we need to have a fact-finding discussion. There are 2 options on the table. It's either the equipment is faulty or the personnel is making errors. We were assured of the following. 1, that the equipment was calibrated and meet specification. 2, the equipment is stored properly and they have taken enough care in moving the equipment from point A to point B. So essentially they are saying that nothing is wrong with the equipment. On examination after that, some of the things that you are now pointing out, when we saw that, we then realized that yes, regardless of what the starters are saying, that everything is fine with the equipment itself, we now have to go by the facts that we're looking at. But one of the things that we need to understand, when a starter makes a decision, as the competition director, we cannot overrule the starter. It's some extreme circumstances. So we have to accept.
But the jury can.
We can. For that decision...
In an appeal, the jury can.
Yes.
In fact, in a number of the cases that were overturned, they were overturned because of these inconsistencies in the reaction times.
They were not overruling the starting. What they did, they ruled in favor of the person making the request.
Isn't that the same? I'm sorry. I'm trying.
Well, put it this way, overrule the starter means that that race is null and void, you can run again. What they said is that the protest is not justified, right? And therefore that person should not be disqualified.
Or the protest is valid.
It is valid,
yeah.
right, yeah.
And
So
therefore the person should not be disqualified.
Yes.
You know, the layman might agree with me in saying that sounds the same as overruling the starter, but I understand the technical jargon within track and field why you would say that.
Yes, because World Athletics rule will say to you that the starter word is final, really.
Yeah.
So you can't, if he says it's a false start, well, based on the machine and the inconsistency of the readings that we were getting, it was on that basis that the jury ruled to reinstate the athletes.
Yeah. So the comments you made in the Jamaica Observer, and I suspect you spoke with them on Tuesday because the article came out on Wednesday. I'll ask my initial question again.
I am not sure. I don't remember speaking to them. I think they may have seen a release that I sent.
Okay, a release. Okay, fair enough. Do you still hold to that position? Or, given the two options you gave, equipment faulty or personnel making errors, what conclusion should we arrive at after the 5 days that we had last week?
At this point in time, based on all the data that we have seen, right, some events not having reaction time for one or more athletes, our conclusion is that the equipment is faulty, and we have to look at that.
Yeah. What recommendation will you be making to the Intersecondary School Sports Association in terms of how they deal with this area going forward? I mean, Corey Bennett said that he feels this is the worst starting crew in the world.
That's Corey's opinion, and I can understand why he feels that way. Maybe I would too. In terms of the recommendations, I'm in the process of getting all the information. I'm not at a point where I'm in a position to make a recommendation to ISSA. We have a post-event evaluation meeting scheduled shortly, and by that time I would have completed my report and the recommendation will be made.
Yeah. Given everything that happened over the 5 days, do you feel that your position as competitions director, manager, is in danger going forward, any at all? And beyond that, do you feel that the position of anybody within the setup would be under threat going forward?
I don't think it's a question of do I feel that the position is, my tenure is under threat. I think that's for the ISSA people to look at the facts and see the performance and for them to make that decision. I think I acted as professional as possible based on the information that I had at different times, because it's not just about the false start, it's about the entire championships.
Yeah. And how do you feel about you're suggesting then that while the false start issues were significant, but given the facts that you did not know what was transpiring at the time, you feel that you're safe?
It's not a question of feeling that I'm safe. What I can accept is that there has to be changes and greater monitoring of the flow of the results from point A to point B.
Yeah, fair enough. Mr. Anthony Davis, we appreciate it, and we appreciate you being as open as you can be. I suspect this conversation is not over, but thankfully you have put some context to some of the issues, and we appreciate that very much.
Thank you for having me and getting the opportunity to explain to the nation. For me as an individual, I think the best way to deal with anything is to be open, upfront. I don't have to remember what I said now, because that's the truth. So if you wake me up tomorrow, you're going to get the same answer. And every year we try to do things a little better, and I'm sure the spectators and the athletes and coaches will see that there has been improvement over time, and we'll continue to try and improve the product.
Yeah, they're running us out of here, but I have one more quick one. When you saw, and I suspect you did, the message from Jamal Stevenson, apology not accepted, how did you feel about that one? We're told not to ask double-barrel questions in journalism, but I'm going to do it anyway. And the second one, we saw a number of those similar statements from athletes, some of them positive, some of them negative. Will you have any recommendation for how to deal with that going forward?
You mean deal with the messages?
Yes.
We are emotional beings, and we will take steps. I think all the schools sign off on a code of conduct, and it's for them to see how they can enforce it. But let us accept that when you work that hard and something doesn't go right on the starting line, the emotions can get the better of you. So we won't, and that's why in the whole system you have a yellow card and a red card, and you don't necessarily give somebody a red card at the first incident. You have to take people's feelings into consideration, and we accept it. We understand how they feel, and we would not want a repeat of some of the things that has happened during these championships.
Yeah. How did you feel about apology not accepted?
I can understand why he would feel that way. I would hope that on reflection, he might come around to say, it is not a deliberate, it's not because my school is not a part of the Old Boys Club. And by the way, there are several persons from his institution who is a part of the system in high positions. So if it's an Old Boys Club,
but in situations relating to Calabar, they have to recuse themselves, don't they?
Yeah, no, you're talking about the championships. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. But in the entire system.
Okay. Fair enough. Mr. Davis, we absolutely have to go. The producer says we're out of time. There are some other issues that we have to discuss around the championship that we just don't have the time to get into today, but we will get into them in detail tomorrow, including the quota breach by Kingston College. So you can join us tomorrow for an in-depth discussion on that matter. Let's go to a break. More to come on the SportsMax Zone.